Okay, hey, so in this lesson in Adobe Premiere Pro, I thought we would start talking about moving clips around in the timeline. We did play with it a little bit, just accidentally, but I think we're going to do it with a little bit more intention, explain how moving clips around the timeline work, and also the bigger idea of dragging and dropping clips into a timeline. It's another way of editing, it's drag and drop. I have some mixed feelings about it, but we're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of drag and drop, and when you can use it and where you should avoid it, and some of the pitfalls of working with it. So we're going to start a new sequence, Control N or Command N on a Mac. I'm going to set for my Canon XF plugin MPEG 1080-24p because that's the footage I'm working with, and I'm going to make a new sequence, and we're going to just call this sequence here drag and drop. We're just going to make a sequence called drag and drop. And awesome. So we have a new sequence here, and we're going to work with this goat yoga footage that we were working with last time. I think it's some fun footage, and we can play with it a little bit. Now, here, simply enough, we can take this footage, and I'm going to bring up the B-roll bin. And in the B-roll bin, you'll see that I have this footage here, and I can bring in footage as I need to. Now, this clip right now is a 2-second section of this clip. If I double-click and open this up, you will see that I have a 2-second section marked. Now, if I want to eliminate those points, remember, I and O is to mark points. So I and O would mark points. Now I have another 2-second section marked, or 2 seconds and 2 frames here, but close enough. I can hit Shift I to go to the in point and go to the out point, and then I can hit Option I and Option O to get rid of the in point and out point. And so that will get rid of those entirely as there. So now we have a 13-second section clip. So let's talk about this with a 13-second section clip inside of here. So in here, I can grab this clip and grab this entire clip and drag it down. Now, if you notice right now, the video is on and the audio is off. And that's because that's how we left it the last time. And so it does remember what was happening last time. And so we're going to turn the video on and the audio on, and we're going to drag this clip down, and we'll drag this clip down here. And you can almost kind of place it wherever you want to. It'll switch between video 2, audio 2, or video 3, audio 3, or even other tracks if you want to go to create new tracks. But we're going to stick here on video 1, audio 1, and put this clip down. Now we put this entire 13-second clip down on the timeline right there. So we have all of this, and it's all there. I mean, all of it is all there. It's pretty much from beginning to end, it's all there. And so that's something we can do. So we're going to delete that and start over again. So now we can get into the case of, yeah, we could mark in and out points. We could say, okay, let's grab this clip from here to here. And again, 2 seconds and 9 frames. We'll grab a little bit back, 2, 5, 2, 1. And we'll go back one more frame, 2 seconds exactly. You know me, I like to be exact. I don't know why 2 seconds is important. It's really not, but we're just having fun. And so I can grab this and grab just this 2-second section down. You can see it's a much smaller section. I'm going to hit the plus key or the equal key and zoom in and see that I grabbed this clip in here. But notice something that happened, and here's one of the main pitfalls of dragging in. When I dragged this clip in, I really thought I was at the edge here. So I really thought I brought this down and dragged this to the edge here, but I wasn't. I was somewhere around here, and I dragged this to there. And now I have, I don't know what, a 1/4 second of black here, maybe a handful of frames here. Yeah, I have 1 second. I had 1 second of space here because when I dragged this down, I was zoomed out really far, and when I was zoomed out really far, it looked like I was dragging down at the edge, but I wasn't. I was dragging down to here, and it automatically snaps to the cursor, which was 20 frames in, so it was like boom there, and so now you see that I slipped a little bit, and me as the expert professional, man, amazing as I am, still I make mistakes and I slip. And that's one of the issues, and I'm not that great, but that's one of the issues with dragging down, is that I can slip, I can miss, and maybe make a mistake. I'm not defining a definable point, and that's why I do love 3-point editing, because I can say, hey, I'll go to the beginning of the timeline and put an in point, and now it's going to drag down to the in point, except I'm not going to use dragging, because dragging, again, I could be in some random place. But I'm going to mark an in point and out point and in point and use my comma key or my period key or my insert or override keys, depending on what I want to use, and I'm going to put that in exactly that place. And that's the beauty of 3-point editing. It's more precise, it's more exact. But here's the truth. At the end of the day, I'm going to get rid of this in point on the timeline. So I'm going to hit Option I or Alt I and get rid of the in point. Dragging down is kind of fun. It's what people get used to. They're working in a computer system. They have a mouse. They have a touchpad. They have a trackball. They have something. They have an interface. And they like the physicality of dragging down and dragging. So who can I tell them that they're wrong? It's just something that people like to do. They like to drag down. But it's one of those things where you can do like this. And guess what? It just snapped to the end here. And so now I have, again, like a 5-frame, 7-frame gap here. It's a thing to be careful of. And you could turn snapping off. You could say, hey, don't snap to anything. And then you have to physically put it here exact. It's not, look, it's not snapping at the key, at the cursor or the current time indicator. It's boom, you have to put it there exactly. I don't know what's better or worse, to have snapping so you can at least snap to the beginning, or to not have snapping, but you can turn snapping on or off, and by hitting the S key and bring them in there. Be careful sometimes, because you'll hit, instead of like Command S for save, everybody knows Command S, Control S for save. Sometimes you'll miss and you'll just hit S and you'll be turning on or turning off the snapping and have the snapping not there. So that's just a thing to be careful of. But anyway, we brought this clip down here. Again, snapping is on. We're going to grab another clip. And now I've worked with some people who say, hey, I'm just going to grab the next clip that I want. I want to grab this clip of, let's say, these people coming into the scene, and I'm going to drag this in here. And you could drag this in from here. Now from here, you could drag this in automatically from here. And again, I'm dragging in this whole 11-second clip. Well, what if I don't want this 11-second clip? I mean, why would I drag an entire 11-second clip if I didn't want an 11-second clip? And now we're going to negotiate. So we'll make a negotiation here. I'm going to grab this whole clip and drag this whole clip down here and do it like there. Or I can go in here, double click, and then I have an in and out point. And you'll see that now I can mark an in and out point and say, hey, I only want an in and out point. And now I'm 2/3 of the way through a 3-point edit. All I have to do is mark a new location of where I want to put a new edit. And I'll just go here to the end of this, or I can just hit the up and down arrows to go to the end of this and hit an in point. And now, do I want to drag down because it feels good? Yeah, I could drag down because it feels good. Or I could just hit the comma or period keys, or just hit this button or this button. It's probably quicker. What do you think? Is quicker to hit one to do that, or to just go boom and then do that? And that's just one button. That was just me, my finger hitting the comma key. It's right there next to J, K, and L. I can do that. It might be quicker, but I understand it's really a lot of fun to go bam and just throw it in there. It feels very tactile, it feels very physical. There is some pleasure in doing it that way. Now you notice that right now I grabbed this clip here that was 2 seconds and 21 frames, and now here it says in the timeline, it says 2 seconds and 21 frames. So if I had marked this clip, I could have just said, hey, let's grab it from here, and it's going to grab the 221 and put it right there, the exact same 221 that I had before. So I could mark it up here and then drag it from here, or even still, I could go and get real kind of, inside of the clip in and out points here, and I could go through here and mark in and out points here. And so I just marked an in and out point here and there, and now I made a 5-second clip, or make a 2-second clip. I'm just hovering over this, and as I hover over this, I can mark new in points and basically new out points, and have my points marked like so, and boom, and have it to, there. And so I just got to hover back and forth, and as I hover back and forth, I can mark an in point here, and mark an out point there, or mark an in point here, and you can see, it's really small, but you can see this little blue line that's kind of developing here. That would be a way to mark. That's really super sloppy, but I could do that. Let's try that again. So let's go here. Let's take this one inside the viewfinder, or not inside the viewfinder, inside the source window here, and we're going to grab from here to here. There we go, grab from there to there, and we're going to say, let's just drag that down, because we feel good about dragging it down. And we'll go to the next key point here. We'll go to the next end of this edit here, and we'll grab another piece of B-roll here. And we'll grab another piece of B-roll, maybe some people doing yoga with some goats. We'll just start off with some goats and yoga. We'll grab A24. There's nothing here in A24 that we could do, but we're going to do this inside the viewer. So we're going to go here inside the bin, and looking in icon view, we're going to make this a little bit larger and have this here larger, and we're going to hover over, and as we hover here, we're going to hover over, hit the in point key. There's my in point, hover back over to there and hit my out point. That's 7 seconds. Let's go about a little shorter, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, and now we can grab this whole thing and drag this whole thing down. This is this 4-second clip, and snap it in there. Can you edit that way? Absolutely. I'm going to hit Alt-I on the timeline to get rid of the in point, because we don't really need it, because we're not even using it. We're just dragging down. Can I edit that way? Sure. Can it potentially be sloppier? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It can totally be a sloppier way to edit. It's not necessarily the best, cleanest way to edit, but it is, if you're in a rush and you just want to throw clips on the timeline because it makes you feel good, no one's going to fault you. I mean, some people are going to fault you, but they're not good people. We're all going to be understanding and sympathetic here. So we have this clip of Virginia here. Notice there is a section of Virginia here. If we look at this clip of Virginia, you'll see that there is a little space right here, tiny little space right here that's showing me that there was a mark in and out point. Now, maybe that mark in and out point is perfect. Maybe your assistant editor did that already. Let's see what that is. We're going to hit Shift-I, go to the in point of this. So I click on this, hit Shift-I, go to the in point of this, and see.
So she thought,
no, I don't like this segment here. We're going to go to the beginning of this and say,
by my clear.
I was approached by my Cleary, the president of Oasis.
I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis, about a year ago.
Now, could I have done that down here? Yeah, I guess I could have shifted back and forth and kind of shuttled back and forth and grabbed that section, but it's really easier up here because I actually have the ability to grab an exact section. I can even zoom in here and see exactly what I'm grabbing. I can shift I and go to the endpoint and have that.
I was approached by my Cleary.
I could probably even get past the 1, 2, 3 frames, endpoint. That's still the shift I, 1, 2.
I was approached.
There's exactly the I. And I have a lot more control to mark clean in and out points exactly at those places. And I do have a little bit of that control. Again, I'm going to drag here. And I'm going to throw this clip down there. Now, if I slip, again, if my finger slips, I might grab over and grab a little bit and ruin some of this clip here. And so I can throw this in here and throw that there. And so now I have this clip after there, back to the end of there. But you have to be a little careful because if you drag sloppy, you can drag down and throw clips down the timeline. A little sloppy. We have this sequence here. So we have B-roll, B-roll.
Now you have yoga mat.
And there was some dialogue there. There was some her saying something.
Right in. Now.
Right in. Now you have yoga mats.
Now you have yoga mat.
You know, it wasn't really clean. I didn't really know, but that's because I was dragging from, you know, a place that I wasn't really paying attention to what I was dragging.
I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis.
I wasn't really paying attention to the audio. It wasn't really clear, and so I wasn't really concerned.
A year ago.
All right, so we have her saying that there. Great, so we have that into that sequence. Now, we're going to do this again where she says, I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis, and when she says, I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis, I want to throw down a picture of Mike Cleary. So we're going to do the same edit we did last time, but just we're going to do it with drag and drop. So here...
I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis.
So in this section here, she says, Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis. I have marked in and out points around the section where she says, Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis.
I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis.
So now she says, I was approached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis. So let's find a picture of Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis. We're going to scroll down here into the B-roll. There's a couple pictures of her. We're going to get a picture of her basically holding out food for... the goats. There she is, A40. And now here's a problem. So I'm going to have this section. I want to mark this from here. So I'm going to say right here, I'm going to throw this into the timeline here. Now, here's a couple problems. In the beginning of this clip, or let's just take another clip. We'll give it a different example. We'll give a better example, I think. I think this might be a better example. So here we're going to use this clip. If this is a picture of her holding the goat here, I'm going to get rid of the endpoint. So Alt-I, Option-I, and we'll go here. Now, in the beginning of this, it's a little out of focus. So it's a little out of focus here, and then it comes into focus right after here, it gets out of focus. So we're going to bring the clip in from here. Now, the problem is even though I have designated this area that I want to fill, I can grab this, and I want to grab this and throw this down here. Now, a couple problems first of all. This does not care. It does not fit into this section that I have marked. It's going to put the whole clip down and put all the rest of the clip there and say, cool, I'm going to throw all the clip down inside of there. The other problem is it brought the audio in. So let's talk about both these problems, and let's address both these problems as ideas. So a couple answers here. When I drag down, and I drag down like this, it doesn't care that I've marked in and out points. So if I want to designate a space on the timeline that says, hey, I have marked in and out points from here to here, this does not care. Even though this is the section that says Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis, and I have a picture of Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis, this is going to drag down this whole thing and bring in this whole clip here, all 12 seconds of this clip here. Now, I could do it this way. I could say, oh, I've covered an area of 216. I could mark an endpoint, jump to 216 ahead, until I found, keep updating my out point until I found exactly 216. I could drag this out to exactly 216 and say, okay, now I have exactly, now I have exactly 216, and I can have, okay, now I have exactly 216. Now this will fit perfectly in here, which is wonderful that it'll fit perfectly in there, except that's not what I want to do, because that's, at that point, why am I dragging and dropping? If I'm making 4 points, why am I dragging and dropping? I'm using this point to measure how long of a space I want and then making it with this point. When I drag this down, this will conform to this size. When I drag this down, when I'm marking Inout Points here, it doesn't conform to any size and doesn't really care. So that's not your friend. That's not a good thing here. And there will be a point at which you're saying, hey, Alt-O, we'll hit Alt-O, where maybe just we have a 3-point edit. Look at that, we have a 3-point edit. All we have to do is just drag this up here and hit, the override key, and then boom, this goes up top here. Now the other issue is the audio's coming over, and so the audio's coming over, so we have some options here. So let's just say, for example, we have this 2-second 16 frame clip here. We're just going to take this here, we'll drag this out, so we can drag this out so it's 216, because we know it needs to be 216. And here, at this point now, these in and out points don't even matter. Alt-I, Alt-O. These in and out points don't matter as long as they're lined up to. I was
approached by my clear.
I was approached by.
Approached by.
Right there. So as long as I'm queued up there, it's coming there. So now we have a couple options. Okay, option number one is we can go in here and we can turn the source audio off. Remember, this side right here is the source side. So this has a video track and an audio track. We could say, hey, turn this audio off here and do not bring this audio in. And so when we do that, we bring in just the video. That's one way of going about it. But we're lazy and we don't want to do that. We're already drag and dropping, so we're kind of just in the wild, wild west here, and we're just being chaotic and doing whatever we want to do. So we can do this. Now, we can say grab this, and this little button right here says drag video only, because we don't have the energy to go down here and turn this off. We're going to say, hey, we want this, but we just want the video, and we're going to drag just the video over, and that will do the same thing. Even though the audio is on right here, this is going to drag just the video over and throw the video there. But again, the only place we have to define the length of a clip that we're dragging down is here. Otherwise, if this does not have in and out points, it's going to drag this whole clip. Even if I drag just video, it's going to drag the whole clip and overwrite it here. Now, could I mark an in and out point and remove all the pieces that I don't want? Yeah, I guess so. I could turn here off and I could hit the lift button and say lift this section out. Man, that seems like even more work. I've seen people who edit this way. They bring the whole thing down because they want to drag and drop the whole thing down and they don't want to mark any points, and then they remove the section they don't want, which seems like working backwards when you could have just marked the points from the get-go. But this is the way people want to work, and sometimes I can't win them over to my side of thinking. So, it is what it is. But this is that idea of drag and drop. This is that technique of drag and dropping. There are some limitations to it. There are some issues with it, and you have to be kind of careful with it. So now we say, okay, we have these clips here. We had this clip and this clip and this clip. And again, I can make this clip a little bit shorter. So I'm going to mark an in point here. I'm going to mark an out point at the end of this clip. We'll go here to the end of this clip. And notice I don't have V1 on, so it's not actually jumping. The up and down arrows are not jumping to the clip that I want to. I'm going to go to here. We'll go like this, and we'll say, excellent. I'm going to grab this here, and I'm going to say extract this. So I'm going to cut this out and close the gap. So this is going to be the extract key or the apostrophe key, and this is going to cut this out and boom. So it's a little bit shorter clip. I don't know, I just wanted these clips to be roughly the same length of time. It's going to play like this.
Right in. Now you have yoga mat.
The audio is a little bit weak, but we'll fix that a little bit later. So we have these 3 clips in a row, like so. So say, for example, I want to throw a 4th clip in here. So we're going to go back to B-roll. And we're going to throw another clip of people doing yoga with goats. We're going to find some footage here. Maybe this B11 clip here of this woman. We're going to wait till her arms are out, so she's kind of in posture there. There's some better scenes here. Yeah, that's even better. I like that with her arm up there. So we're going to take this and we're going to grab a section of this. Maybe, like I said, like a 2-second section, and we're going to bring this in. But now we want to go, in this case, we want to put this clip. I'm going to hit Command plus to make the video tracks bigger, and then Option plus to make the audio tracks bigger, just so we can see that. We want to put this clip in between this clip and this clip. So we want to sandwich this clip into here. Now, when we drag and drop, even if we drag and drop just video, but we're going to drag and drop video and audio. I don't know what the audio is in this. Maybe it's just some background sound, but we're going to bring it in anyway. Great, so we're going to bring this in. When we bring this in, it's going to go in here. It's going to overwrite over here. Now look at it snapping everything. It's snapping to the cursor. We'll move the cursor way out of the way. We'll have this just snap in right here, and it's going to snap. It's going to overwrite. It's going to overwrite, and you're going to notice it's going to overwrite. I'll show you a technique here. You're going to see that it's going to overwrite because when it goes in, I'm going to drag this in close. When it goes in, you'll see that there's 2 little bars, and then in between the bars there's a down blue arrow. The blue arrow is facing downward. The cursor turns into a down blue arrow, and that down blue arrow says, hey, what it's going to do is it's going to go down, and the symbol for the down arrow suggests overwrite, almost like it's just laying on top of this, basically overwriting on top of this. Well, I don't want to overwrite down on top of it. I want to fit this clip in between these two clips and push these other two clips over. So I don't want to go straight down. So therefore, the command key, holding down the command key, you'll see I get this right-facing arrow. And so this right-facing arrow says, hey, sandwich this in here and push everything over. And you'll see the arrows there, the little white arrows above and below here, say put this in here and push these other ones over, and this will push, boom, and put this in there. So you can hold down command, and that will do an insert as opposed to an overwrite. So there is a technique that will come up again and again that we'll use on a regular basis to get this idea of kind of pushing this in and moving stuff over like so. So you could do that as well. But again, the only in and out points that matter when you're dragging down are these in and out points here. Or, again, if you're here and you're doing the same in and out points inside the bin, by hovering over, you could mark in and out points here and have this 2-second clip in here. We'll do this again right here. So we're going to hit here. We're going to drag this down. We're going to put another piece of B-roll into here, except we'll hold on command, and this will push this over and fit another clip in there, a 2-second and 15-frame clip that pushed into there. Now we have all these clips in a row. We have all these clips lined up here
Right in.
as an idea. Some of them have audio, some of them have distant audio, some of them have just sounds of goats making noises. It's great. It's good stuff. So now we have this collection of B-roll clips. We're going to have this montage of B-roll clips. Now, this would be a case, too, is if we had something like music. So if we had some kind of music in here, we'll bring in some music here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to import. So we can either just double-click. We can go to the media browser, any of those techniques. We're going to go here to my drive over here, and I'm just going to bring in some music. I believe I have something in my Adobe Media Files folder, and I have something here in Goat Media. I'm pretty sure I have music, and I have this autumn or happy acoustic music. We're going to bring both these in here, and we're going to say import and bring this music in here. I'm going to make a bin for this. We're going to hit here and hit Command B, make a new bin. We're going to call this bin music, and we're going to drag this music in here like so. I'll put it in there. So it's in there. So we can decide which music we want to listen to. We have autumn, which sounds like this. Oh, no, let's do happy acoustic. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that happy acoustic music here. And so now we want to put this over this section of from here to here. We have about 11 seconds here before Virginia starts. So we want to put it over kind of the first 11 seconds here. So again, I can mark an in point and out point here. And I can say, hey, let's put this music on track 2. Put it on 2. There, we have it there. We have this music line at the beginning here, at the very beginning. We don't even need an in point here because we're just going to take it from the very beginning, and we can just say override. Boom, it's going to throw the music down there. Easy enough to do. Or I could designate an 11-second section here and drag this down. 11:05? Yeah, there we go, 11:05. Again, do I need these points now? No, I don't need the points in the timeline. I can Alt-I, Alt-O, Option-I, Option-O, and drag this down. Now, when I try to drag this down, it doesn't drag it down. It actually just drags through it, but it doesn't drag it down. And that's because dragging down normally drags video and audio. But guess what? This clip only has audio, which means I have to just grab the audio. And I could have done this if there was a great sound of, it was a video clip that had something like B-roll, and the B-roll happened to have some really great sounds of goats making noises, and I wanted to hear goats. I don't know. What do they do? Do they neigh? They baa? They do what sound does a goat make? I don't know. Anyway, so I can bring this in here, but I can bring this in just by bringing audio. So this was drag video only over here. You see, this is grayed out. It doesn't even let me drag video because this clip is just a music file. It's an MP3. It doesn't have any video. This clip is just audio. So I can drag down just audio. And this will drag just audio and fit kind of, look at that, 11:05, fit just perfectly. But I have to measure that out and compare that. Otherwise, if I didn't have an in-out point, guess what? I'm bringing in all 2 minutes and 25 seconds of this. Drag audio only, drag it to there. So I have audio only there. We're going to undo what I just did, put those points back, and we're going to drag in those 11 seconds there. And I have this music in here.
Now you have yoga mat.
I was approached by...
That cuts out really drastically. We might have let that roll over a little bit. We'll talk about audio in a future lesson, I promise. But for now, we're just getting the ideas of dragging, dropping, and throwing clips in the timeline like there. So if I want to drag in just video, I can do this icon. If I want to drag in just audio, I can do it with this icon. Or I could turn things, if I have a video and audio track, a simultaneously audio and video track, I can turn off the video and turn off the audio, and I can drag in one or the other. I guess if I turn both of them off, it won't let me drag anything. Yeah, it's just kind of, well, it actually drags both here, but if I turn off the audio or turn the video on, but turn the audio off, it'll just drag in, turn the audio off, it'll just drag in the video, and so there is a little bit of control in there to bring clips in and drag them in as an idea. So that is, I don't know which way is better, if you want to just turn the video off or on here, or if you just want to drag here. And that's if you desperately want to drag and drop things into the timeline. Okay, so we're going to delete the audio. So I'm going to click on this and just hit delete and delete the audio from the music now. We have the music. It's queued up. We have it ready. I might even just mute it for now because I just want to focus on the B-roll here. So now I want to talk about the idea of moving clips around within the timeline. So just taking clips and moving them around inside the timeline and having them adjust there. So here, again, if I grab a clip, I can grab a clip, and I'm going to put this clip first. So I'm going to grab this clip and put this out first. Now, what's this going to do? It's going to grab here. It'll move over. It'll snap. Auto snapping is enabled. And so it'll grab here to the first clip, and it's going to overwrite the first clip. Now, this clip was a little bit longer. It's going to put this on top of this clip and overwrite it here. Boom, like there. Okay. Maybe not something I want to do. I'm going to undo. God bless undo. Command Z. We're going to get rid of that and do that again. What I want to do is I want to cut this out, and I want to insert this before this clip. So I'm going to grab like this, and when I grab like this, it's going to pull this out, except I'm going to go to the beginning here, and I'm going to hold down Command. And when I hold down Command, I get my little left arrow here, and I'm just going to do this again. We're gonna undo what I just did, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see a little bit closer to the screen. Hopefully the zoom in is recording. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to go here, and you're going to see that this down arrow, Command, will turn into a right arrow, and this is going to insert. So this is going to push this over and go like there. And it pushed this over. Okay, thing to be careful of. A couple weird things happened. Weird thing number one that happened is that it pushed over the audio. Once I pushed the audio down on the timeline, it said, hey, the audio isn't here permanently at the beginning. It's keeping audio in sync with this. And so the audio is in sync with here. The other problem is it left this big, huge black gap here. Now, I could click on here, hit delete, and get rid of that black gap, and that would work perfectly fine. But I want to make my life easier here. So I'll show this to you again. If I grab like this, even if I hit Command here, what's it going to do? It's going to push all this over, including the audio. It's going to push the audio over as well, and here. But when I pulled it out of here, it leaves a blank space where that was, which ends up looking like this, with this weird blank gap. So that's just how Adobe works. It's a little different than other editing systems like Avid and Media Composer work. It assumes a certain kind of mentality of how it works. It'll push this audio over. On Avid, it wouldn't have pushed the audio over. It wouldn't have considered it that way, but that's just because of the way that Premiere is designed by default. So let's try something different here. We're going to undo. I'm going to grab like this, and instead of grabbing and then going over to here and then holding down Command like this, which is undo a way I can do it, I'm going to hold down Command before I even begin dragging. And you'll see that my cursor right here will change to this other, when I hold down Command, you'll see my cursor will shift to this other cursor here, this blue to the left. And this will do an extract. So let me talk about this as an idea. Normally when I click on a clip and I hit delete, it deletes that clip, lifting it out. And what is lifting? Lifting is the equivalency of if I marked an in point and out point, and I said lift, it would lift this out. Oops, sorry, that's extract. Lift would lift this out and leave a blank gap. So normally, even with in and out points, if I wanted to lift out the entire segment, I can highlight the entire segment, and when I highlight the entire segment, it lifts this out and leaves that gap there. You remember, if I click on this, and I hold down Option, I can extract this clip. And extract, if I have marked in and out points. So again, only need mark in and out points, only to use these buttons. This button is lift, semicolon, this button is extract. If I want to bring out a portion of a clip. So if I said, hey, just grab a portion of a clip and extract that portion, I could hit the semicolon button, and I could hit the I could hit the apostrophe button, and I could say, or I could hit the semicolon button, I could lift this out, or I could hit the apostrophe button and extract this out, and I can do that with an extract in terms of there. Now, that's if I have marked in and out points and I only want to remove part of a clip. Option I, Option O, get rid of those entirely there. If I want to get rid of the whole clip, I just want to get rid of this whole clip, I can hit delete, and that would lift it out. The other option is to their option delete or alt delete, and that would extract this. So it's doing the same thing. One pulls it over, one just leaves a blank space. Lift always leaves a blank space, and delete is lift, option delete or alt delete is to extract. Okay. Now in this case, what I want to do is I want to take this clip. I want to move this clip over to here and have this command insert there, but then I also want to delete this space out and get rid of that space. So I want to extract that space out when it moves over. Undo, undo. Okay, so what I want to do is I don't want to click over here and drag over here and then hold down command. That works, but it doesn't do everything I want to do. If I want to work a little bit faster, what I really want to do is I want to grab this clip, and before I grab this clip, I want to I want to command drag this clip, and you'll see that my cursor will change, and now if I hold down command the entire time, it's going to both extract and insert simultaneously. It still pushed the audio over, which is a problem. I could just drag the audio back here and throw it over there and fix it. We're going to do this one more time as a different technique. I know this is a lot of stuff, but I want to cover all of the bases. So I'm going to hold down command the entire time. Command, drag, 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 this little snap, and then I'll hold down command the entire time. My fingers just holding down command non-stop here, and we go like there, and I'm going to swap these clips out here. Now, the problem that's happening here is the audio wants to line up with this clip. And so when I put the audio down here, automatically it said, hey, the audio is lined up with this clip. Even though the audio is muted, even though the audio track selector is off, it doesn't care. It has now decided, now this clip is designed here, it belongs here. It has been put here, and this music should line up with this scene. Even if the sound is on, we'll turn the sound on. Right, for whatever reason, the music was perfectly. I mean, music doesn't really matter as much, but imagine if this was like a voiceover where the voiceover had to be exactly with the section it was. It might be vitally, vitally important that the music was lined up exactly where it needs to be. So that is something to consider as an idea. Well, we want to say, hey, let's ignore the fact that the audio doesn't need to, the audio can just stay at the beginning. The audio doesn't need to move with this because this is not, I didn't care as much where this is. I want the audio at the beginning, but I don't need this to be here. So again, when I command drag and drag over here, I don't need this to move over with this. I can put the audio back here and leave it there, and because I'm just going to swap these clips. I'm swapping the order of the clips. I'm taking this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th clip, and I'm putting this first, and I'm just swapping the order. The order without the audio. Whew, okay. I'll slow down my talking a little bit because I'm getting a little bit excited. All right, I'm going to hit this lock button. And lock button says, hey, ignore the audio. I can't even drag on the audio. I can't grab the audio. I can't do anything to the audio. It is locked down. It says, hey, I'm staying here. I am not moving. I am not changing for you. I am exactly where I need to be. Do not ask me to move. Do not make me move whatsoever. Now, again, I'm going to command click, drag over here, swap the order, but the audio will not shift. And so that's maybe what I want to do. Could I swap the audio over and then move it back? Yeah, but I could also say, hey, don't mess with this. Leave this alone. Just leave this track alone, ignore it, forget about it, and I could lock the track down and work that way. Now, I'll show you one other way to do this. I know, I'm going to show you everything that you could do. We're going to change this again. We're going to undo this, turn this off here. Here's a difference between Avid Media Composer and the way that Adobe Premiere works. And that is that Adobe Premiere has these buttons on all the time. These are called sync locks. Sync locks are ways to prevent you from breaking sync, prevent you from throwing things out of order. So for example, when I put this audio clip down here, it assumed that this audio clip belonged with this video clip. And so this music was lined up here, and this music was lined up here, and this music was lined up here, and this section of music was lined up here, and this was all synced together, and everything is synced together. Now, for example, an Avid Media Composer, if you've worked in Avid before, you might know that you can throw yourself out of sync really easily, and you should avoid doing that, and you should learn how not to do that. It's a very trial by fire kind of editing system. Adobe Premiere is a lot more friendly. They'll say, hey, we'll make it easy for you to not break sync. So we'll do those things that will prevent you from breaking sync. So for example, if I throw this clip over here, it says, hey, I don't want to break sync, command drag and throw this clip over here. It says, hey, I don't want to break sync, and we'll push the audio over so that this lines up with this. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want that to happen. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well that means that I can say here, turn this off. And these things have little lines to them that will turn the sync lock off. Now the sync lock has been disabled. All these little slashes through the sync locks, all the sync locks have been disabled. Guess what? I can totally throw myself out of sync. That is definitely a problem. I can easily throw myself out of sync. So now I can grab this clip and I can say, for my own self-interest, I can say, hey, let's move this clip. And this clip, the audio doesn't care what I'm doing up on track V1 and A1. It says, hey, I'm moving V1 and A1 over. It doesn't care. It's the same thing as locking this down. I don't need to lock this down now. It doesn't care. It's not paying attention and trying to keep this. It's not trying to keep this lined up with this. It doesn't care what I do anymore. So now as I move tracks around, if I were to say, hey, let's go here and delete this track and make this shorter, I could say Command or Option delete this and delete this. It doesn't care. Now, if the sync locks were on, it would care. So if I had this and I said Option delete, it would cut some of this back and adjust this accordingly. But now it does not care what I do. You'll notice before that when sync locks were on, if I have this section here and I grab this section from here to here, and I were to say extract this out. Now extracting this out, even the audio 2 is not on, and I would say extract this out, and I said apostrophe key, extract this and remove this. Guess what? It removes the audio too. And now, here's the problem. The audio, even if the audio is perfect, and I just want to make this shorter, the audio is now has a weird like cut in it. You'll hear the music doesn't sound right probably. There's definitely, I'll solo this for a second. Yeah, there's a weird like music is not in sync. It's not in the right tempo. It's not following the measure. I definitely have a problem here. We're going to undo that there. Well, I have a couple options here. I say I want to remove this section. I don't want to do this and play attention to the section. Now when I hit the apostrophe key, it doesn't care what the audio does, and the audio just stays where it is, even though I made this clip and cut this clip in half. Now, that could be a thing I could do. The other thing I can do, again, is work without sync locks. So if you are an Avid editor and you're jumping into Premiere for the first time and you're used to working in Avid, you might say, hey, forgo sync locks. I'm smarter than sync locks. I know how to not break sync. The problem is that if you did something where you said remove part of a clip, if we said, hey, let's just remove the video section, and we're going to option delete the video section, guess what? I can totally throw myself out of sync here. So I'm going to grab this, and then option delete. And so we'll delete this and say, cool, delete that. We can totally throw ourselves out of sync. And we can totally make a mistake and absolutely... And now my audio, so you'll see these markers here that say, hey, guess what? 2 seconds, I am 2 seconds, totally 2 seconds out of sync. Now Virginia's mouth doesn't line up with her words.
Coached by Mike Cleary, the president of Oasis, about...
Yeah, she's totally 2 seconds off her voice. So that's a thing to be careful of. Sync locks prevent you from making that mistake. They really do. They really save you from making that horrible mistake. But you can do that. Again, Avid people who worked in Avid Media Composer, they learn the hard way. They learn trial by fire, like I said, to avoid breaking sync. You can turn sync locks on in Avid as well, but they are on by default. It's really hard to break sync, and it's really... we'll see some ways that we can break sync naturally, but it is something that can happen there. So let's talk about grabbing clips in the timeline as an idea. So we can click on one. We can also hold on Shift and grab 2, 3, 4, etc., and grab multiple clips there and move multiple clips around as we need to. So we can grab a whole entire section. We could take Virginia plus this B-roll, and we could say Command, drag, and put this before everything else, and now Virginia's before everything else, the music doesn't start there. So maybe we wanted to open, say for example, we wanted to open Virginia and then bring the rest in here and throw that in there as an idea. That's definitely a way we can work. That's definitely an approach we can take of a way to throw clips into a timeline. We have that as an idea thing we can do. We're going to undo and put that back the way it was. We can grab there. If we grab above, we can also grab a selection here, so we can actually grab a cursor and say, hey, grab this clip, this clip, this clip, and grab these 3 clips, and just drag anywhere above or anywhere in a blank space and grab this. And then again, command click, we could grab all 3 of these clips before and swap the order. Again, the audio is still on, so we might want to lock in the audio. Normally, like honestly though, you're typically, there's exceptions to every rule, and there's things you're going to do after you make the sequence perfect. You're going to go back and change a bunch of things. But by default, you're probably, what are you doing? You're importing clips, you're looking through those clips, you're throwing down the timeline, and then maybe you're trimming them, maybe you're cleaning them up, maybe you're moving them around, and then as an afterthought, then you come back and you go, okay, let's add music. But you normally do that typically if things are going right, which they never are, but if things are going right, you're doing that after you've built a sequence. And so here, you wouldn't have to worry about audio because it probably wouldn't even exist until this was the right way. Will you go and change your mind after the fact? Yes. I'm not going to say, no, everything's perfect all the time and you're never changing your mind after the fact and reorganizing the clips even after you put music down or put titles in or put visual effects over things and have overlays. Yeah, of course you can change your ideas and change your mind about how things are, but if we were doing things the structured approach and everything was working smoothly and we weren't changing our minds 16 times, we would be moving these around and we wouldn't even have to worry about the music or the titles or anything else that could be thrown out because stuff's getting moved around. But here we are. But anyway, you can grab clips like this. You can do this. There's also a couple keys here. This key is called track select forward. That is the A key. So it says there the letter A as a shortcut. This button would say, hey, if I have my cursor here, or if I have my mouse here, I can say, hey, grab everything from here over, or say, let's grab from everything from here over, and I click track select forward, and anything that was on this line over forward, I can move over. And this would be in the case of if you wanted to grab an entire section and be like, oh, I need to grab this entire section. This is the interview section. I could grab all this and move this over to give myself some space, give myself a gap there. That is just a quick key rather than dragging, which you could do with the selection tool. You could be V key selection tool and drag everything. But say you had like an hour of a sequence, you could go in here and just say, hey, grab everything from here over to the end. And that'd be track select forward. That is the A key, track select forward. It's another way to grab a bunch of clips in there. So you can click, you can shift click, you can grab a lasso or a selection around, or you can use the A key and track select forward. There also is, if you hold this down, there is track select backwards, shift A, which is to go grab all these clips from here over forward in this direction. I use that rarely. I rarely ever use that. I actually don't use track select forward a lot because I always forget about it after the fact, but it is there. You can also use, while we're here, you can also use Command A to grab everything, and that will grab all of the tracks. So everything that's there except for the audio track, which is locked, but it grabbed everything. So Command A for all, grab everything, grab all. And then the one that I really like, which is rarely ever thought about, and this works, like this is an old computer interface thing. Like, so if I'm here and I have a bunch of documents in my documents folder, if I were to say Command A, I would grab everything. And then how do I deselect everything? Well, Command Shift A, which is the opposite of grab everything, Command Shift A would deselect everything. And so I can do that on any system in any interface here. So Command A will work here and grab everything, and then Command Shift A would deselect everything. So sometimes I have something selected and I don't mean to have something selected like this. I'll just take and it's like I'm here in the timeline. This happens sometimes, especially when I'm doing effects. I have this and I forget that I have something selected way in the timeline. I'm like, why is something not working? Oh, because I'm selected on something way down the timeline. I really like Command Shift A to just deselect everything. Yeah, can I click up here? If I have this selected, can I click up in the gray space up here, the dark gray space up here, and say deselect everything? I could definitely do that. That definitely works as an idea, but Command Shift A, Command A, grab all, Command Shift A, grab all. That doesn't just work in Premiere, that works in a lot of other programs, including your graphic interface on your computer to open up your windows or your menus or whatever. You have your files that you can grab. Okay, so moving on. We're going to take all of this and we're going to keep going here. I'm going to go a little bit down the timeline here and we're going to talk about drag and drop as an idea. We're going to go back into this B-roll bin and we're going to grab a couple clips here. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And I can grab multiple clips here. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to grab these clips here. Now I have all these clips here, and some of these have in and out points, some of these don't have in and out points. I'm going to grab Command A and grab all of these, and I'm going to get rid of all the in and out points. Okay, really quick, an idea. If I want to go here and grab a clip, we'll talk about this as another shortcut. I want to grab this clip here. I don't want to mark in and out points. For some reason, I want to mark in and out points around this clip right here. If this clip is the clip on the timeline, if I can hit the X key, I can mark clip. That is in markers. Mark clip is the X key. And so mark clip is to grab around where I'm parked. So if I'm parked here, I'll hit the X key and I'll grab this clip there, X key, and to mark in and out points. Sometimes I want to mark in and out points perfectly around the clip. Simultaneously, if I'm up here and I hit the X key, is it going to grab Virginia or is it going to grab A44? So which one is going to grab here? I'll hit the X key and it grabs Virginia. It will default automatically to grabbing track 1 by default. That's what it will do. It will grab track 1. It defaults to grabbing track 1. If I do not have track 1 selected and I hit the X key, it will grab just A44. But it cares more about V1 than it cares about anything else. Any of the tracks, it really focuses on paying attention to what's on V1. So it really focuses its attention to that. Okay, moving on. So we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep grabbing clips here like so. I can grab clips that way and say X. If I want to get rid of both the in and out points, I can hit Option I, Option O, or I can hit Option X because X is grab mark clip. To ungrab the clip, Option X will grab there. That'll get rid of in and out points. Now what I just did here is, say for example I have a bunch of B-roll clips, and I have all these B-roll clips, and all these have different in and out points. So I have different in and out points that start at different places. I could say, for example, here we go. We're going to take a look at this. So we're going to grab A1 here, and A1 has an in and out point from here to here. And A2 has an in and out point from here to here. And A3 has an in and out point from here to here. And I'm just making up arbitrary in and out points. I have in and out points from here to here, and in and out points from there to there. I have these random in and out points like so. Okay. If I go into here, you'll see that my in and out in point here is at 12 seconds. This one's at 13. This one's at 8. This one's 16. This one's at 25. This one, and so some of these should be at 0. Or sorry, the immediate start point, not immediate end point. I want to go to the in point. Sorry, the in point to 311, 319, 115, 406, 07. They should all be at 0. If they didn't have an in and out points, they'd be at 0. But they're all here at different times. So I'm going to hit Command A, grab all these clips, and I'm going to hit Option X to get rid of the in and out points that are pre-established. Okay, so now these are all blank, and none of these have in and out points, so I've just removed all the in and out points. And I just did it by hitting Alt-X, just to get rid of all the in and out points, because I do want us to do something a little bit different here. So an idea I'm going to do a new sequence here, Command-N, new sequence. I'm going to start a new sequence and recall this string out. And this is sometimes what's called a raw basic string out. I'm going to grab B25 here, we're going to grab B1, A1 to B25. We're going to grab all this footage, and I'm going to drag all of this down here into the timeline, and this is going to grab everything from beginning to end, all this footage from all of this, and grab every clip in here, and throw this down the timeline. This is everything. So this is all of my footage, or all of my B-roll here. This is, what do I got, 25 minutes here, 26 minutes of B-roll here. I've grabbed all of this footage, every last bit of this, even the 1 second clips, all the clips here. I've grabbed everything from beginning to end. Here my footage. This is sometimes referred to as what's called a string out. This is an industry term for all of my footage on one clip on a timeline. Why would I do that? Well, say for example, somebody wanted to see all of my footage. They said, hey, Chad, you should have shot a whole bunch of B-roll over the weekend. Let's see all that footage. Cool. Do I send them 25, 35 clips, or do I send them one clip, 71 clips here, 71 clips here? Do I show them 71 clips, or do I send them one clip that has all of my footage? Sometimes directors don't want to see 71 clips. They don't want to look through that. They just want to see, you know, all the footage from the day, the dailies from the day as one long clip. And they say, hey, show me everything. Just show me everything as one long clip. I can export this and throw this down there. What I could also do is I could also make a new sequence. Again, Command N, new sequence. We'll call this final sequence. And just as an idea, I don't normally edit this way, but what I could do is I could take my string out sequence. So here I have my string out. Here my final sequence. I could take my string out here. Here's my string out down the timeline. I could take the string out and I could drag this into the source viewer. And now I have the entire, all of my B-roll footage here as one long clip. One long 26-minute clip here of my footage. And this is a technique that some people do. A lot of news editors work this way. It goes back to an idea of working basically in a linear perspective, or working as a linear edit, where you used to have old VCRs. You'd have a source VCR and a record VCR. Now you have a source window and a record window, and this is your source tape of all of your footage. Is it the most efficient way to edit? I don't think so. but it is something that some people do. So this is this idea of a raw string out where you can kind of grab from here and just have one long thing where you can look through all of your footage and see what you want and just kind of drag back and forth, decide what you want, mark in and out points, and then throw this into a new sequence. So we can just grab from here to here or grab from there to there. It will retain all the mark in and out points, so boom, when it throws down here, it will go in here into this other footage here, and we can bring all this in here and insert this into here as a sequence. I have a little bit of problem. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I have nothing selected. Haha. See, that's me being dumb. I had all the video and audio off. Sorry. This will come in as a sequence inside of there, but you can double click and see the original source sequence. So you can put it on a sequence into a sequence kind of thing. That was silly. See that? Look at me making dumb mistakes. I was about to stop there for a second. I was like, oh, I'm doing something horribly wrong. You guys are probably watching, making fun of me. That's okay. I make mistakes too. But that is the idea of something called a raw string out. It's good to see that you make mistakes. I think mistakes are a good part of this whole process. I think learning to see how to troubleshoot mistakes and just realizing that sometimes it's late and you're just dumb, it happens. Anyway, so that's a raw string out. Another idea here. So we're going to take final sequence here. We'll take final sequence and we're going to take this sequence here. I think this is in B-roll actually, which is not where I want this to be here. So we're going to take this. We're going to take string out outside of here. We should probably put in the sequences bin. That would make more sense. So we should put drag and drop in the sequences bin. We should put final sequence in the sequences bin and put string out in the sequences bin. A little bit of organization goes a long way. We'll get rid of these sequences just for now. We're just going to take final sequence, and I'm going to rename final sequence. We're going to call this a little bit of, I guess we'll call this a cultivated, or just call this rough cut. We're just going to call this rough cut. Super rough cut. There we go, super rough cut. So this is super rough cut. Here's another thing I could do. I could actually grab individual files. So I could grab individual files here and go this, and then 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 these are all the B files. And we're gonna I'm holding down Command here, and I'm grabbing different files here. So Shift will grab a range, Command will grab individuals, and I could say let's take all this and throw this down the timeline, and boom. What's nice about it is it does grab the clips in the order that I clicked on them. So in the order that I clicked on them, notice it put all the A's after all the B's and ended with A28, which was the last one that I grabbed. I grabbed this one last. So it does grab it in the order that you clicked on it. I wasn't paying attention to the order I clicked on it, but this would work either in here, which I can't really tell what I'm doing, but in here I could kind of grab different clips and I could throw them down the timeline. And this is kind of a more super rough cut or more cultivated string out. So say I didn't want all the footage, I didn't want to show everybody all the footage, I could actually select certain footage and be like, I want this one and this one and this one and this one in this order because this is the good order and I want to put the good stuff up front. And I could start to make a super duper kind of rough cut by grabbing this way. And I could work inside of here. It's an idea, it's an approach to how to do this to bring clips in the timeline. And we'll just put them in the order, throw them down there in the timeline in that order. That's another way to drag and drop. It's kind of a little bit crazy, but it totally works. It totally works as an idea. It's something that you can explore and you can try. One of the things we have not looked at yet is and we're going to take all these clips. I'll hit Command A, grab all these clips and just delete them. And we'll start symbol black again. And we got nothing on the timeline. Great. Another way it can work is in here, and this way is called freeform view. So we did have list view, we had icon view, and lastly we have freeform view. And now freeform view looks a lot like icon view, and you're like, well, what's the difference? Well, the big difference is that here we have all this empty space. We can start to storyboard. And we can say, okay, let's open up with this clip here. We'll go from this clip, then we'll cut to this clip second, and we'll cut to this clip here. And we'll cut to this clip next, and we'll cut to, this clip next. And again, in these clips, I can still go into these clips, hover back and forth, mark in and out points, grab this clip from here to here, mark in and out points, grab this clip from here to here, mark in and out points. Now, I have my audio off. I could turn my audio on so that when this drags through, it plays the audio as well. And I can have this clip from here to here, and I can throw these clips in there, and then I can say, let's grab these clips like so, and throw this down the timeline. And this is kind of making a storyboard edit. So this is a super rough cut again, but this is the storyboard technique of making this rough cut. And we'll put these clips in order with the in and out points as they were, and kind of line them up perfectly right there. Now, it messed up the order a little bit, and that's because these things weren't lined up perfectly, and it dragged this way. So I probably want to go click this, click this, shift click, or command click. I could do shift click as well and grab these here, and then command click this one, and then it would grab in that order. So it is going to be the order in which you selected them. Since I selected this one, ultimately I selected this one last, it messed up my order a little bit. So just dragging does not grab the order in the order that I want it to. I would have to select them in a certain order and then have them be that order there. So I could grab them that way, click, command click, command click, command click, command click, and grab them that order. And in this case, let's just get rid of these. We'll go back to the beginning here. This would throw this down into this order here. And so this clip's a little bit longer, but you get the idea. That is another way of dragging and dropping to create a storyboard inside of here. So that technique does work inside of here. It's another way you can do it. But again, I honestly am a fan of 3-point editing. I do like 3-point editing. It is a little more exact. It is a little more precise. I'm kind of meticulous about the way that I work. It's just the kind of person that I am, but it is an idea of a way you can work in there. People like drag and drop. I can't stop them. I keep trying to explore the benefits of the 3-point editing as an exact science, but people like the playfulness. It's kind of the art form of editing. It's editing as an art form is really this idea that I can just kind of free flow and throw clips around. But it's one of those things you have to be careful about. You have to be careful and understand what you're doing when you're throwing clips down the timeline, because one little shift or miss or something, you can make jump cuts, you can make flash frames, you can make blank spaces, you can throw clips out of sync, you can make some problems. It is something that will occur as an idea. Anyway, that's all we're going to touch about today, and so that's all we're going to explore for this moment. And I think we're going to go into future lessons where we talk about one of my favorite things, like trimming in a future lesson. We'll maybe work some other footage, but we'll have some fun and we'll explore some ideas. All right, that's all we're going to do for today. Thank you much.